So, I did actually check out both of those. Ferals have junk that hangs out and sticks out either through their clothes or hangs below them, because some of them were only in shirts, and other kinds of ferals are entirely naked. And that meant recording either of those just wasn't going to happen. I did get the rest of my borders. Got some other stuff done because I ended up needing to hit that up as I went by it anyway. I do have a I don't think you ever got there. There was the synth that grew up. I sent there.
Well, the farm's not much, but it's something.
To do the caravanning, but they aged up and stopped counting, and I didn't see them when I went and looked. I have had a ghoul grow up who started counting as a person once they aged up. And I have a new to me mod called Place Everything, which, if I'd remembered about it before I went and did all the fucking foundations in town, it definitely would have been helpful for that. But this one in particular, I can use to test, because some of these buildings were 3.5 deep. And this one happens to stand out that it was 3.5. I can use... I thought I already had one of you, but it's fine. I can use you. Actually, I do want you the other way. To give it a place to snap into. And then have it do what I want, which is have them layer themselves. It might be easier if I... No? What would be nice is if there were half foundations, but there aren't. I wonder if it'll be easier if I start with that where it needs to be. Yes. That's not what I want to do. I don't suppose. No. What would be helpful so I could get you to face that way? Thank you. And then I would be able to do the same with the walls. So one part of the visual is you will see there is outline version, which is what would have previously been red, and then full color version is just plain allowed. I can place it there, but it's you might have issues. And then there's the, while it's just highlighted, there are and I can change the increment for the movement, for rotation and down and up, left and right, and whatnot. But, so, well, this one is off because this is askew. All of these are lined up with where the original foundations were, and then adjusted to be an acceptable height to work with the steps that were leading up to them. Now, actually, this one, like most of them, the door would be in the middle, which means it would be off-center from this. So what I might end up using this for is shifting things so that the door would actually be in the middle of where the stairs are. Oh, I didn't do all of them. How about that? I thought I had done most of them. And done what I could with the, actually. Is it easier to do that, or... Because I know I could just get them to snap to at the new height, but with how fussy that can be with anything that isn't an edge piece. Just doing that. But yeah, like you can see, the way the foundations lined up with the way the stairs are set. I am most likely to use this in actually centering those so that if I actually want to put something there, all of these off-center things will be centered. And maybe get them all to that and just above the edges height. Because we've seen how stupid they can be with step-ups. I also did this. And put the Raider ones on one side and the others on the other. And color-coded the sides. Move this up here since they're going to be up here. Now I'm actually just looking for... I had noticed that some of the alignments were off, and this one just looks askew because this fucking driveway is askew. But it didn't have a ramp up otherwise. So it's just gonna bother me that it's not. It cuts across diagonally, and that's just gonna bother me. But that's how the fucking foundation was. Yeah, askew. Oh, you're even worse. But yeah, something that I noticed as I was, because what I did, well, there is the one that I haven't done yet, and well, it can demonstrate the point well enough. Is I would get one corner lined up just about as cleanly as I could, which that still worked the same way, then figured out, excuse you, how much I needed to go across. You overshoot a little. With some of them, I tried to line it up with the outcropping for those fucking windows, but for some of them, that actually cuts into the shrubbery, because it only popped out in that one spot and there wasn't room. But then, these houses were not set up with the same grid, and I would have like that third. That's about a quarter. So they were usually like a quarter to a third looking off, but some of them were a full half. And if I had a way to make that work, because again, they don't have half or quarter size foundations, and that's an oversight that I haven't looked to see if a modder has addressed. But I usually just, I went a little over on one side, so it's fine that it's under on the other, is how those decisions got made. But I tried to be faithful to the size and shape of the original foundations as best as possible. And then from there, now, of course it's higher than I want, and I can do it the way I was, but I want to show what I'd been doing to fix that. Since it won't do the thing I want, and this one's seems to be about the right difference, I'd just stand on it and then let it adjust. And that does look like it's about the difference that I was after. I'd pick something that was just a bit elevated from where it would sit if I weighed it down, and then look for one that seemed like it was the right amount of offset. Excuse you. You snapped into the wrong position. Come on. You tried. No. That's the right alignment at the wrong height. Oh, goddammit. Yeah. Just a little low. But this was the process I went through over and over in some cases until I could find the one that was the best compromise. Now, what I'm going to do here is just do that, and then but then, like the rest, off-center, because the original foundation was gridded out differently. Rude bastard things. So, while yes, it will help me be as persnickety as I want about the fucking foundations, the thing that stood out to me that it will be of great help with, and of course I've done the small places already. Actually, you're not very big. It might be easiest to try it here first. Spectacle is gonna be a fucking nightmare. That took a long ass time to clean up. This isn't so bad for size. Now, I still don't have... Oh, actually, there is a part of this that could help with that. It doesn't help with this being fucking obtuse. But there isn't enough diversity of size. Well, one, I can actually get the precision placement right before I've scrapped anything. But also, and I do not remember the hotkeys for it. That's the one. You can change the scale, and it shrinks them down too, but it does mean I do technically have a way to get them to be closer to the correct size. Honestly, for the smaller ones, just slightly scaling up the little ones will likely be more effective, because otherwise the big ones may end up with weird proportions unless I pick the really tall one. But yeah, I can just go, oh yeah. Oh, and which one of these is, and then I can put it down and then rotate it the way it should anyway. So and I can do that while actually looking up at it so I can see what the foliage, where it's actually aimed, if they lean in a particular way, but I have to be looking at the, oh. But yeah. Now I can actually have the anal retentive precision I need. Because Zorb had a mod that I did not. Didn't know was a thing. And the trees happen to be a thing where it will fill in a gap that was making me very, very angry with some of the stupidity about how things behave. Oh. With the other ones, I left them smaller. This one, I have done enough railroad in the past to have had to come here specifically for them and not just because it was there. So I left space for accommodating my eventually probably getting to that. But yeah. Guess let me actually try that with one of the little ones. Actually, just generally speaking, how do you look if I size you up to? Okay, doubling your size is still meaningfully smaller than that. What if I put you at the base on one and then from here? That's better. And then think your trunk is just about right, and it's placed in the right place. Well, actually, it's a little off because the shape of your base is different. So it would probably help if you point it this way, just for the sake of the others. Seeing how things line up. And then you're different. Get you where that one is. And then that actually seems a little. That one. Now, tall straight one just smaller than that one. And you, honestly, one of those would be fine. Excuse you. You face that way. You. You're the one that's mostly trunk with smaller branches. And you are too big, but I knew that already. How's that? That looks to be a lot closer to correct. No. Yeah. It's not like it's going to take me any more time because it's letting me be. It's letting me get things closer to how I want them without the additional fussing and guesswork. on top of being able to resize to get them to match the needs better. Can't redo the ones I've already done because I don't have the originals to base them off of anymore. But of course the textures that get resized do not quite look right if you actually... Yeah, that might actually bother me. Because I look up at it and it just looks wrong. But even if I just use it for the placement, and leave things the size they were, so that the textures of the leaves don't look profoundly fucked up, it still makes the placement better. If it's something that doesn't have a texture that'll get fucked up in a way that I can't look at comfortably, then the resizing should be just fine. Oh, apparently the base setting for this is at 88%. Interesting. So, that's curious. You might be funny. You actually don't seem profoundly distorted by being resized. I do like that it tells me where it's at so I can turn things to where they started from. But, yeah, okay. Don't do it to the trees just because the foliage ends up looking weird. But definitely for the placement. But yeah, did those. I actually did that. I did do that. I don't know if I'm going to have a metal skeleton walking around this island. I have poked over a couple of times just to see if they'd actually get here. I have cleaned it up. Something that stood out to me when I was cleaning up Spectacle was specifically how I took most of the Rocky out of the Rocky intertidal that is New England coastline. The placement I get with this also means that I could maybe situate things a little better with that. But using this to actually have a walkway to it was good enough. And then I drew as straight a line as I could to that, which actually, because it was already elevated, placing a foundation underneath it was the easiest one I've ever had. But yeah, especially as a as someone with a marine biology degree, deliberately destroying the Rocky intertidal, stood out to me. But also there were a whole lot of barnacles to destroy out of spite. I dissected a number for science, and then had a whole lot more died just because they were inconsequential to our needs. And oh boy, did that smell bad. Fuck barnacles. I mean, they serve an ecological purpose, but the barnacles here that are overgrown and belch radiation at me and don't have limpets to bulldoze them off their surfaces, that's scientists in published research papers will even call it bulldozing. I missed a rock. But yeah, limpets are a kind of snail. And yeah, they, at least smaller barnacles, they bulldoze off of surfaces. It took a long ass time to clean up just because the island's so big. There was a lot of junk in the water too. You're a floating straggling piece. How did you not go with the ship you were attached to? The shipwreck you were attached to? You are a visual artifact that will go away when I get closer. See, there's still a couple of rocks here and there that I missed. I mostly went for the big rock walls, but I did get just about it. I did get the vast majority. And yeah. I'm replacing all these fucking trees. And a bunch of them are in clusters. I mean, you can even tell just by the glance that a bunch of these are clusters of trees. So it would just be a big old clusterfuck of tree placement. But yeah, placing this foundation was very easy because this was already elevated. And I did appreciate that, at least. One thing that stood out to me though is things like this this is one of the spots where a murky popped out, aren't scrappable. Now, mole rat holes are. I do wonder a thing. Now, doing this does also confuse it a bit, so when I had to do this for cleaning things up otherwise, but no. That isn't it. Just because of the way things were, or I kept being moved by the water, scrapping things in the water, toggling in and out of it, I had to periodically pop out of build mode because it was breaking the interactions for some things, but also I think it was also just getting overwhelmed with there are so many things and this island is so big that I had to pop in and out of it a few times just for it to, no, okay, you can actually deconstruct these sheets of barnacles that are still there when the surface they were on has been deconstructed. But yeah, this place gave some new and sometimes surprising concerns about, okay, are you failing to do your job, or are these just structured differently in a way that they're not interacting in the way I expected? And it's also big enough that apparently I just missed shit. I mostly left the seaweed alone. Unless it was somewhere that no longer had a surface or water for it to be stuck to, and it just was floating mid-air like some plants. Just, you know, deconstruct some more barnacles while I'm there. Like, see, that was clearly sitting on something. Based on the angle it was jutting out at. And levitating barnacles were on something. That's also part of why I'm going back around, because, well, it wasn't daylight for some of it. But also, there are things I can just miss. Or sticking up off the ground. And then there's some things like other terrain that juts out like this was actually a separate layer of terrain that was deconstructible, and this place did have some of those. But some of the terrain features that looked structurally similar to deconstructible things elsewhere aren't here, so that was more of a peculiar observation. Nothing inherently good or bad about it, just oh, you look like a thing I thought I could do that too, but I guess you're different in a way that wasn't obvious. But yeah. I'm not entirely sure what I'm gonna do next. I got my edge pieces. I may go looking for trouble. And one of the known quantities. But I'm not entirely sure. I may just do more of the actual coastal edge pieces because that's a lot more complicated than just doing the farthest out of the bits, which is what I did. Though, technically, whatever might be sticking out there could also count. Anyway, yeah. Made some progress, cleaned up some shit. Have a new mod that lets me place things and other stuff. But it is called Place Everything. And that is going to be the big help with the persnickety way I do shit. So, thanks, Zorb.